reminded, refreshed, rehearsed, raised the volume. We've talked about it all year. We practiced with the music on a couple times, which I'm sure everybody does. But I think our systematic approach to playing in front of a crowd, even though, quite frankly, we really haven't other than the regional games, I think we're ready for that. It's just the nonverbal use of communication versus thinking you can talk to the guy that's on the field beside you easily. It's not going to happen. So they understand it. Now, executing it in this setting for the first time is, that's where the rubber meets the road. But we've refreshed, prepared, worked on it today. So, we're going to find out if it works.
Just real quickly here, in addition to playing the music loud, what exactly have you guys done as part of that preparation and indoctrination process?
Well, our outfielders communicate to call a ball differently than the infielders. So to try to not have it overlap and blend when there's a lot of other verbiage going on around you, that was one thing. All of our signs from me to the offense, that's all nonverbal stuff. So the layers of what we try to do are pretty deep. And the verbal, like you can't, when a runner's on base, for example, and we use the wristband. So when he's looking at the wristband to make sure he's on the grid at what the sign is, the hitter can't be in the box. So it's just playing the game with your eyes up a little bit, because the verbal part is not going to be as much of a factor. And as the stakes rise in the game, as you get later, or, with runners in scoring position for either team, the volume will increase. So, there's a lot of things. We don't use the headset from pitcher catcher at all, because we don't ever want to get in a situation where you can't hear it or there's a malfunction. So I could go on and on about it, but I just think it's so ingrained in our system that it's how we play. And hopefully we can just continue to do what we've done systematically, this weekend.
Thanks, Link.
Up next, we'll go to Tim Prister.
Link, when you guys played Virginia, you said it was a bad matchup for Bertrand. You got three lefties on the mound. You don't have a lot of options now. How do you feel your lefties match up against this lineup? Because Allen and Hancock, DeBrule, left-handed hitters. What are the advantages you have, and what are your concerns?
Yeah, my concerns are they handle left-handed pitching pretty good. And our guys pitch to contact, and it is part of the game. This is just the way that the ball bounces, and he's got to be better. Like, he's faced teams throughout the year that are very competitive teams that handle lefties pretty well. And he's going to have to adapt and learn from what happened at Virginia. And that was what I told him on the mound. Like, you've got more outings coming, and you have to, as miserable as those couple innings were for the poor guy, having thrown so many great innings, you have to learn every time you go out there. So getting the breaking ball where it needs to be and not letting that thing hang in the middle of the plate, and being a little bit more crisp with the fastball execution. The changeup traditionally, against righties has been, an effective pitch, but he's just got to make pitches, and he pitches to contact. So, the ball's going to be in play. Now, he'll punch some people out, but that's not his mojo. His mojo is just kind of awkward contact, and we have to be able to play defense, and that's just the way it is. You've got a variety of lefties on our staff, and you've got Colup, who's, a totally different type of arm than our lefties, and Rayo, and then, Brannigan and Simon. So there's a mix in there, but at the end of the day, we need Bertrand to be effective and give us some outs. We got to defend and try to get into the game and hang in there with them. They're a good offensive team. They know what they're doing. They've got a bunch of different ways they'll go to try to beat you. And he's got to execute pitches, and we have to defend, period. He's got to have multiple pitches in play, hopefully all four. And we just have to go compete.
Do you have advantages with three lefties on the mound? As far as starters, I would assume that's the direction you're going.
Yeah, we're just going to announce Bertrand because you guys have seen it. We don't really plan too far out because we can start anybody. We're just looking at one game at a time. But yeah, they're all good. Mercer's different than Bertrand, and Tyrell's different than Mercer. So they're all left-handed, but they all are unique in their own respect. And, they do pitch to contact. Our pitching staff is different. They've struck out 715 guys in 500 and something innings. So it's a different look. Both have been effective, but it's a different way of going about it. And the pitchability lefty will be an asset to the game as long as the game is played. And we just happen to have 4 of them, and that's how we have to play.
You feel good about, I mean, Mercer and Terrell have been going deeper and deeper into the game for you. You feel good about where they are right now as far as, longevity in a game that they would start here.
Yeah, for them to build off of an actual deep start, I mean, it's great. It couldn't line up better just for their experience because neither of them have done it. And that's another experience factor they can file away. They have gotten deep into games and have pitched out of a little bit of trouble, and we let them work through it, and off they went. So it was good. I think they've done so many nice things for the team this year in terms of starting, relieving, closing, bouncing back to start in shorter stints. That was great to see them just go out there and pitch like a starting pitcher would be expected to pitch. And we don't ask that often, but when they're rolling, we're just going to let them go. Like Tyrell, we could have taken Tyrell out of the game, but why would we? He was settled in. He was getting ground balls. We were playing well, double plays.
His pitch count was down.
Yeah, so we just kind of have to ride it. It's again, our pitching staff, both teams are very competitive. Their pitching staff is designed. It's just a little different, and both effective.
That's good for me. Thank you.
All right, up next, we'll go to David Murray.
Coach, Chris Lemonis was up in Indiana for those years. He's at Louisville several years. Talk about how well you know him. He was talking about the Christmas game with the green uniforms and the red uniforms those years, and just the good rivalry that they had going with y'all.
Yeah, we didn't get to play them. We were going to play them in the Pro Park what was it, Paris? Last April, and never got to it. So I know that's a big thing in the state. And then the Big Ten teams weren't allowed to play non-conference games this year. So we kind of ran out of options of who we could play. So I haven't gotten into that rivalry. I know Chris is a great coach, a great person, fantastic coaching staff. These guys are well-rounded. They handle the players phenomenally well. Each of the coaches, Jake and Foxhall and Cheese and Lem, like they all get it. They know how to handle their guys. Their team has good personality, and this is the cream of the crop in terms of lining up against somebody that understands their program and what they're doing and has done it at multiple places. So I'm excited to compete against them. I don't think I've squared off against them before. Foxhall, I coached with Foxhall at Auburn. Scott's one of my closest friends, and I've had several of these things go on for me this year. People I know, I coached against my own son who's about to play at Arkansas in 10 minutes. So just some unique stuff. And this with Scott and the guys on the staff that I know, it'll be, another tightly knit, close bonded coaching staff kind of relationship that you have to kind of part ways with for a few hours and go jump in the dogfight and play the game.
Up next, we'll go to Aiden Thomas.
Hey, Coach. Just one kind of quick functional question. How is Spencer Myers doing, and is he healthy for the weekend?
He seemed okay today. He was smart enough the other day to kind of get himself out of there. And TJ's a phenomenal. He's as good as any center fielder in college baseball. So I think when Spencer realized we're up and let's let TJ go play the rest of this game and let me start to regroup and get myself ready for the following weekend. So he's got baseball feel, and he was much better out there today. And he gets another night and more treatments and in the morning to continue to try to trend upwards. So we'll see. He told me after practice, Coach, I'm good. So he's on that roster, and that's all I can go with right now. We'll see how he is tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. And then just one other follow-up question. When you're preparing for a Mississippi State pitching staff, you can probably figure who their, 2 starters are going to be, but how do you go about prepping for, they've got maybe 8, 9 guys they sometimes throw out of the bullpen. Do you kind of prepare for
guys?
Yeah. I mean, I think they have 14 guys that appeared in 10 or more games, something like that.
Yeah.
So do you guys prepare for them as a staff as a whole? Do you try to break down the individual pitchers based on when you think you might see them? How does that preparation go for you guys?
Well, we watch the videos and we compile scouting report information on all of the guys. Now, Bednar and the lefty, those guys, obviously, you're going to get those 2. So we have significant more footage to show the guys going into the game. And then you got Sims and Simmons, and then Harding, I guess, is the other lefty that has been very effective. You could go on and on, but we try to break it into, in this case, we broke it into the guys that have started games for them. Like that's one of our scouting report pieces. And then guys that have come in out of the pen. And, our guys they've watched. Like this isn't anything. When we talk, when we get back to the hotel and get into our scouting report meeting, we filter down the information and relay what we think they need to know to go compete. Now, in this day and age, those guys dig into the videos and stuff on their own, and we give them some access to what we think they need to watch on their own. But we break down individually what the guys do. Like the pitching staff is comprised of, in their case, 15, 18 effective individuals. So you have to look at the individual because they all use their stuff differently. So at this point, it's not really like Mississippi State pitching staff does X. It's Bednar does X, Sims does X. Like you got to kind of go down the list and try to give them clarity on how each guy's going to look. So that's what we do.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Coach.
Up next, we'll go to Trey Mongrove.
Yeah, Link, you hear it in sports all the time talking about, how much postseason experience factors in. And I'm just curious your take on that as the team that's coming in had been in its first super regional since 2002, going up against a team that's advanced in the last two super regionals.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have, other than our grad transfers, nobody here has been in a postseason event, Paris, correct? Other than, the conference tournament. But I will tell you, our season, in my opinion, was comprised of 12, 13, now 14 weeks of what felt like super regional games. Now, because of the protocol at various venues on the crowds, you didn't have that. But I'll tell you, it was tough going into essentially right into ACC competition and seeing that all year with a scattering of midweek games in there was tough. So we don't have postseason experience, whether it's good or whether it's bad. It's just straight up. This is what they know. They know a 3-game series with a conference tournament that was an unusual, the format of the ACC tournament's an outlier other than what we did all year. So we've tried to play each one of these weekends like it was a super regional team because the caliber of who we were playing is going to be the caliber of a team when you get to this part of June. So that's all we can do. Like we have to try to continue to be consistent and play our game, knowing that our entire schedule was comprised of teams that I felt like could have also been in this event.
Does that kind of give y'all a little bit of a chip on your shoulder? Because if, that's kind of that assumption that, one team's got more experience, so naturally they'll advance.
I think these guys have a chip on their shoulder because they play kind of like, I hope that they get after it, man. So I don't know if the chip on the shoulders just from anything more than the guys want to win. They don't like a bad inning, a bad pitch, a bad play. They just don't. Like, it's just their DNA right now. And as you've experienced some consistent success, anything that is out of the ordinary, they get mad, frustrated, however you want to term it. So I don't know that the chip is any more than just, man, these guys, they want to come in here and perform. And that's what they've done all year. So that's a tough one, but I've seen them really respond to even a bad 3-minute spurt on the field. So I don't think there's the experience, lack of experience. I think it is what it is, man. We just go compete.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, we have time for 2 more. We'll go to Chuck Freebie, and then we'll end with John Bryce.
Link, David Lamanna, how has he developed as a catcher in the time that you've had him, and where have you seen his greatest improvement?
Rich works with those guys every day on their catching skills. It was not good enough when we got here. His catching / receiving was not good enough. The blocking, he'll be the first to tell you, it just wasn't consistent enough. And the throwing has gotten better. Every part of his game has gotten better. And that position is critical. Like managing the zone and stealing pitches from time to time and blocking balls and making the accurate critical throw. He's gotten so much better at it, and it's hard work, and he's a tough kid, and he's a grinder back there. And Rich Wallace, all of our catchers, like if you watch practice today, those guys, it's 93 degrees out there. They're blocking plays at the plate. They're throwing to every base. They're receiving. That's Rich, and he works hard with them. and they help our pitching staff. They catch all kinds of different arms, and he's made leaps and bounds defensively, and it has continued to be a clutch offensive piece for us. He's had a lot of key hits for us this year.
I was going to say he had a very good regional at the plate. Where have you seen his improvement at the plate as well?
I think his quality of at bat is better. He had a knack for the dramatic, if you will, but it became more consistent. I think his pitch selection has gotten a little bit better. He swings like he's an active at bat. Like it's not going to be a lot of just takes and deep counts, but within that trait, you have to be sure you're getting good pitches to hit. And I think being an aggressive hitter, he's still harnessed a little bit of discipline to keep himself in the frame of mind and in the lane that he's looking for the pitch. So it's not quite as reckless from time to time. And if you're a little more disciplined, then you get pitches over the long haul that you hit harder because you're swinging at better pitches. So I think that's where his progress has come.
All right. Sorry about the dog there. It's a schnoodle, not a bulldog. Thanks, Link.
All right, and we'll end with John Bryce.
Yeah, just real quickly here, Link, on a personal note, just what is it like for your family this weekend? You've referenced your son getting ready to play in a super regional. You're in a super regional in your first full season at Notre Dame. I just wonder from a uniqueness, from a special standpoint, not that you've had a lot of time to think about it, but what's that like for you and your family? And is your wife out in Fayetteville?
Yeah, John, man, to think that after all the years and games and travel tournaments and where's he going to go to school and is he going to get to play? Is he going to start? Like to think now you're down to 16 teams and we're 2 of them. It's crazy. My wife flew with us, rented a car and got up at 6 o'clock and she drove to Fayetteville. So they're sitting in Baum Stadium right now. She's never been there. My daughter's with her. That's as far as we can go. Like she doesn't know what to do if NC State wins the game tonight. And I don't know what to tell her to do. And I'm not going to say a word to her because she's going to have to figure that out because if, they're playing to go to Omaha if they win tonight and she wants to be here, but I don't know that mileage wise she can pull that off. So, John, I don't know. Like to say that another coach is, I guess Bianco is kind of in a similar situation with his son that plays at LSU. But Jen has that Jeep Grand Cherokee she rented, that thing was flying up through Memphis to get up there today and they made it. So I'll get the briefing after the game on what she wants to do, but I have a feeling she'll probably stay there for tomorrow and then come watch us. I'm glad these things didn't line up where we're playing tonight too. That's the best thing that could have happened in this. I mean, the best thing is we're playing. The next best thing would be the way the super regionals shook out with them Friday and us starting Saturday. So that gives her a chance, fighting chance.
Awesome.